I like coming here to Fleetwood and sitting down on this bench. It's a break, isn't it? There's always something to see. A distant ship smoke on the horizon, little sailing yachts, motorboats. Nowadays you get these adventurous types with their windsurfing, and I even saw one who took off. I liked to swim in the sea when I was younger. I come down here with me bag of stuff, towel, trunks, packet of sandwiches, flask of tea. Why doesn't tea from a flask taste the same? I've often wondered. What a palaver it was getting changed. Wrap the towel round you, take your clothes off without letting the towel drop. Good grief. A book to read later, perhaps a magazine or the daily paper. I always bought The Guardian. I like to read Neville Carter's writing about cricket at Old Trafford. Can't afford it now. Last time I looked it was £2.50 a copy. It was always a bit more expensive than the other papers. But £2.50 a day, that's £15 a week. And then there's the Observer on Sundays. Goodness knows what that would cost. But £15 a week is £780 a year. No, I had to stop buying it every day. I sometimes get one as a treat for myself if there's been something interesting happen. You know, big sporting event or a disaster somewhere or political scandal. Mind you, if I bought one every time there's a political scandal, I'd be back to buying it every day. These days there's not so many people as there used to be. Everyone's going to Spain and the Canary Islands. Once upon a time the beach would be crammed. People sat on their towels or deck chairs, children running in and out of the water, building sandcastles if they could find a bit of space, planting little paper flags on castle walls and watching as the tide came in to wash their efforts away. Mary and me would come here when we were courting. That'll be us one day, we'd say. Then we'd go off to the cafe by the lighthouse. Pie, chips and peas, 3 and 6, including tea, bread and butter. Then it'd be back to the station. Change at Preston for home. The plans we had. Mary had a job in Makinson's Arcade, in a shop that sold school uniforms and army surplus stuff. She liked it, liked meeting people and talking to them. She'd get the Wigan Corporation bus every morning at 8:15, have time for a cup of tea before opening up at 9 o'clock. She started that job the week after she left school at 15. Finished one life on Friday, started new one on Monday, she'd say. She never did any exams. What do I want them for? I'm happy with my job. No, she wasn't what you might call ambitious. It was handy, mind. She'd get me all sorts of things with her staff discount. Boots and shirts for work. We bought a tent once intending to go camping in the Lake District, but her mother wouldn't let her go. Not until you're married, she said. Right, I thought. If that's the case, we'll get married. First doctor I saw, long time ago now, mid-1990s, said that it was probably nothing to worry about. It was almost certainly just irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. I thought it was the result of a curry. He still stuck his finger up my bum, told me I'd need a colonoscopy, then we could be sure. I love the "we" bit. I was sent to a consultant, about the same age as me, from New Zealand. Did I smoke? No. Had I ever smoked? No. How much alcohol did I drink? About 5 pints of beer a week. Are my parents still alive? They were. Then a list of ailments and diseases, all of which I'm happy to say I hadn't had. Then he stuck his finger on my bum. I said to him, "You've got a weird job." "I know," he said. "That's what my wife thinks." The seagulls are getting braver. I was here this time last year and one swooped down, nicked a chip right off my lap. I hope you like vinegar. I like vinegar and salt, plenty of it. I never took to mayonnaise. I was 30 before I knew what mayonnaise was. We'd always had salad cream at home. When we had salad, that is. Can't imagine it going on anything else. Now people puts all kinds of things on their food. Tomato sauce on roast dinners, HP sauce seems to go on everything. Funny the way things go. I was in the co-op last week and went down one aisle and counted the number of different countries that were represented. Curries from India, Thailand, China, pizza from Italy, German sausages. I inquired if they had any Lancashire hot pot. They hadn't. I asked Mary to marry me sat on this bench. We'd come for a day, a little break. Just a day, that's all. I'd been listening to the weather forecast and knew it was going to be a nice day. So we packed a few things into a bag and off we went. Bus to town, train, change at Preston. I'd bought a ring from a jeweller in Wigan. They said that if I kept the receipt I could always bring it back. They also said it was easy to adjust if it didn't quite fit. I'd put it in my coat pocket and was choosing my time. We'd been on the pier and played on the slot machines. We'd lost, of course, but we'd had some fun. Then we'd gone to the fun fair, rode on the dodgems, the waltzer, the skyrocket. And I got Mary to go on the ghost train. We both nearly jumped out of our skins when that skeleton appeared from nowhere. It was nearly time to go home. We was just sat here, holding hands. Mary had her head on my shoulder. I said, "Mary, will you marry me?" She said, "Yes." We were only 21. It was 1960. The week before the colonoscopy, I get sent a pack of stuff. There's a book explaining what can happen and the risks. A form to fill in, including a box to tick if I want to be sedated. I do. And packets of powder that I have to mix into a drink to take the day before to clean me out. 1 pint every 2 hours. The drink is disgusting. I mix it with a little orange squash and the only way I can finish it is to slug it down in one go. First one, nothing happens for about 40 minutes. By the time of the fifth, I may as well just sit on the bog and pour it straight down. I got a taxi to the hospital, get kitted out in a gown with my backside sticking out the back. More questions, pretty much the same as before. Then it's into a little room, nurses fussing round, sedation goes in, I lie on my left side. Knees up, please. Something cold and slimy is being rubbed around my bum. Then I feel the camera being inserted. They have to pump me full of air to expand everything so they can see what's going on. I feel as though I'm going to fart and blow the whole thing out. I look up and I can see a TV monitor. On the screen is a red tunnel. "There you are," says the consultant. "That's what you look like from the inside." Great. The pier's gone now. It burned down a few years ago. A derelict anyway. Nobody'd used it for years and it had become unsafe. I saw it on the telly one morning on Luke North Breakfast News. From where the camera was I could see this bench. I hope that doesn't go up as well, I thought. 3 fire brigades had to come and get it under control and put it out. Now all that's left is a tangle of metal out at sea where the blokes fishing used to go. A skeleton. A bit like that one that jumped out at Mary and me. We fixed up to have the wedding at St Thomas de Martyr, and then a do in the church hall afterwards. Used to be the local cinema. Honeymoon was going to be a little break here. I'd put her name down for a council house, although at first we were just going to be living with her mother. Her dad had been killed in the war, 8th Army in the desert with Monty. Neither Mary nor her mother had ever seen his grave. I told her we'd go one day on a little break. Her gran did the baking. 3 tiers of fruitcake. Keep the top tier for the christening, her gran had said. I got this suit from British Home Stores in town. I never knew where the wedding dress was going to come from. I shouldn't ask, I was told. It's unlucky. My mate Jeff was going to be best man. Him and me had been mates since we were in the infants class together. Miss Draper, she had a stuffed owl in the corner by her desk under a glass dome. Frightened the life out of me for ages until it dawned on me that it wasn't alive. I've still got our class photograph at home. There we are, laughing at something with all our class around us. I can recall most of the names. I don't see any of them now. Everyone moved away with work or university. There was talk of a reunion some years ago, but I didn't hear any more about it. The school has gone now, turned into houses. When one of them was up for sale, I pretended I was interested in buying it and went to have a look inside. Where Miss Draper's desk and the stuffed owl used to be was where the telly stood. Full central heating, fitted carpets, very nice. They built a new school up the hill. They've got playing fields with real goalposts and nets. I went there once for a meeting. It was lovely. We sent the invitations out. What a job that was. I was scared stiff of upsetting somebody by not including them, but we could only have 50 people. My dad had bought a barrel of beer from the pub, and Joe, the landlord, was going to tap it for him in the morning. We had caterers arranged. They were going to do a buffet, just sandwiches and, bits of cheese on cocktail sticks with pineapple and vol au vents. For a pudding, they were going to do trifle. Joe was going to run the bar. He applied for a licence and had got everything set up. Mum and Dad put £20 in the kitty to start everyone off. It all sounded great. Ulcerative colitis, inflammatory bowel disease, IBD. That was the diagnosis, not irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Colon and rectum get inflamed. Nobody really knows why people get it, possibly a failing of the autoimmune system. But they do. I have. I start the treatment, not to cure it, you can't, but to control it. The team that I start to see are fantastic. Absolutely no inhibitions. And indeed, before long, neither do I. My poo is discussed, described and analysed for the amount, the consistency and the frequency. I soon become familiar with the Bristol stool chart. That's the hotel we had booked for our honeymoon over there. In our day, it was bed and breakfast only. One bathroom down the corridor. There were washing facilities in each bedroom, but that was it. No ensuite in those days. At night, we had to be back before 10:30 or else we'd be locked out. Breakfast was going to be cereal, then bacon and egg with as much toast and tea as we wanted. Mary's Uncle Arthur had a Rover, and he was going to drive Mary to the church. Said that he'd get some white ribbon to tie on the front of the bonnet. Also, he was going to be the one to give her away. Made sense as he was her dad's brother. I was just going to walk down to the church from our house. After the ceremony, Uncle Arthur would then drive us up to the church hall, and we had a taxi booked to take us to the train station for going away afterwards. Jeff had got his speech. Nothing too rude, I hope, Mary's mother had told him. Jeff just grinned. God knows what he'd got up his sleeve. I had my speech ready. Not much, just thanking everyone for what they'd done for us. Dad told me that I had to make sure I said that my thanks were from my wife and I. He said that always gets a laugh. I lived with the colitis for years. For much of the time it was dormant. I forgot I had anything wrong with me. Then slowly the flare-ups got more frequent and the drugs got stronger, but their impact got less. Steroids, drugs with long impressive sounding names, vedolizumab and infliximab. There were more frequent visits to see the team. Then it just went out of control. I was going to the toilet over 20 times a day. The team told me I had to come into hospital through A&E. By midnight I'd been poked and prodded, more fingers up my bum. They told me they were going to keep me in. I was there for 12 days, almost up to Christmas. I hope she's been happy. It was a bit awkward at the time, but now, well, life's too short, isn't it? It wasn't to be. No use dwelling on it. On the day it didn't happen, that's all. We turn a corner and life goes on. The caterers were very good about everything. Mum made up little parcels of all the food and gave them out to the guests to take away with them. Dad took the barrel of beer home and supped it over the next month. I still had to pay the vicar and the organist, though. Last I heard, she was living in the Midlands. Bloke she married opened his own clothing shop and another and so on. They got married about a year later. I came here on that day too. It was too much for me. I thought I'll have a little break away from it all. I suppose they got grandchildren and all now. I bet they don't go to beaches like this. Torremolinos it'll be for them. I wonder if she ever went to Tobruk to see where her dad was buried. We may need to have your colon taken out, I was told. Again, that we made it sound more like a joint venture, I suppose. You'll have a stoma for the waste to come out and get fitted with a colostomy bag. So matter of fact. I was scared. Well, shitless. Literally, it seemed. I was given some leaflets to read. There's one person in every 300 or so has this up for one reason or another. Age isn't a factor. There are children with it. There's even a rugby league team made up entirely of men who have a stoma. Well, they can play rugby league with it, then anything's possible. Her mother sent me the ring back with a lovely note, saying she was sorry how things had turned out and she hoped I wasn't too upset. She'd written it on proper notepaper, basiled and bone, not just something torn out of an exercise book. She always had nice handwriting, used a fountain pen. It came with a card. On the card was a picture of Fleetwood. There's an irony for you, I thought. I couldn't find that receipt, so I kept the ring in its box in a drawer. Put the wedding ring in there as well. I thought that perhaps one day, but it never happened. I don't think I could have faced the jeweller anyway. I only ever saw Mary once after that, at her mother's funeral. I went and sat out of the way at the back, and then when they was all leaving the church, she glanced to the side and saw me. She just said, "Sorry." Silently, of course, but I could lip read. She had her children with her. They were teenagers, crying their eyes out. I didn't go to the wake afterwards. It had been a bit awkward, so I just went home. They did try to bring my colitis under control with double doses of drugs and more steroids. Steroids were dreadful. My face swelled up, moon face they call it. I got cramp in my hands, insomnia, the shakes. By March though, it all seemed to be working. I'd slowly come off the steroids. The test now would be, could the drug hold on its own? Trips to the loo were down to only about 4 or 5 a day. Then, in the middle of April, like clicking a switch, I was back to where I'd been the previous November. So I called the team. When Jeff got married to Irene, I was his best man. I made everybody laugh when I told them how him and me would see who could pee over the wall of the boys' toilet in the school playground. The things we'd get up to. I'm godfather to their son Andrew. They only had one. I taught him to fish on the canals round where we live. He goes all over the place now. Last summer he went to France and caught a 90-pound catfish. He showed me the pictures, said he'd take me. "Come on," he said, "it'll be a little break for you." Perhaps I will one day. Dad died nearly 20 years ago, and Mum went 4 years later, so the house is mine. They'd worked so hard to pay off that mortgage, and now it's me that has the benefit. Doesn't seem fair. Since Mum died, Jeff and Irene always invite me round on Christmas Day. I take them a tin of Quality Street and contribute to the cost. Irene says that I shouldn't, but it gets expensive, and they're on a pension like me. From me making that phone call to call the team to the operation, it was 4 weeks to the day. In between, I met the surgeon, was transferred from the IBD team to the stoma team. I'll miss the IBD team, they'd become friends. I'll send them a card at Christmas. The stoma team took me through everything that I'd need to do once I was home. The surgeon did a bit more poking and prodding, no finger up the bum this time. "You'll find it transformative," he told me. When I went to the consultant for her to sign me off, she said to me, "You've had enough, haven't you?" I just burst into tears. The operation was 8 hours. Keyhole. How do they do it? Do they just pull the colon out? As I came round, I looked, and there it was. This beige bag stuck to me. So, this is it then. How do I sleep, shower, dress? First few days were really upsetting. I'm all right, you know. In my 30s, I trained to be a primary school teacher. One colonoscopy I had, the nurse who was assisting was a former pupil. I retired at 61. I had to stop playing cricket some time ago. I'd played 40 seasons. Now I score for the second 11. They're really good to me. They always pick me up for away games and take me home. I still go fishing and I play bowls now. Crown green, of course, not that flat stuff they have down south. I never could see the attraction of just going up and down the same alleyway. In the winter it's playing in the local crib league for the White Lion. We came third in the league last year, and watching Wigan Rugby or Wigan Athletic. It's nearly a year now since my op. I got used to the bag. I change it every other day and it needs emptying about 3 times a day. Once I got the faith in it to sleep and shower, I was fine. I've had a couple of leaks, but nothing too dreadful, and the stoma team are every bit as supportive as the IBD team were. I saw the surgeon again not long after the op. "Well, Alan," he said, "you and your colon, you weren't friends, were you?" They'd done some more tests on it and found it was clear of anything more sinister. "Give your stoma a name," I was told. I thought, I'll call it Sainsbury. After all, they give you a bag for life. After Mum died, I built a model railway in the spare bedroom. It's only for my own entertainment, but it passes the time during the dark nights. Nobody's ever seen it. I'm hoping Andrew might come round one day with his little boy so he can have a look. It'll be my 80th birthday soon. Jeff and Irene are planning something for me. Really, I'm quite busy. And every year, on what would have been our anniversary, I come here for a little break.